This team right now, they're deeper since the trade deadline. And Anthony Duclair has made the biggest difference here. Obviously, the points have been there. I think he's pointed in all but maybe 1 or 2 games since the trade deadline. But his addition to the top 6 has balanced everything out on their line combinations. Now you know exactly who your top 6 are. They're interchangeable, and, we've seen John Cooper move guys around all the time. But his presence in the top 6 has set your top 6. It is now firmly established Nick Paul as your third-line center, and he's almost an ideal third-line center because he's got skill. I mean, that shot he scored to score the goal last night was a brilliant shot to the top far corner. He's got grit. He's got size. He can play defensive hockey. He's a very, very good third-line center, so that slotted him in. So I think that's the one key thing since the trade deadline. Matt Dumba has kind of done the same thing on the back end, although he's a little out of position right now playing on the left side, the last number of games. So he's trying to figure that part out of his game. But the biggest thing with this team comes down to their goaltender. Andrei Vasilevskiy, who missed the start of the season with back surgery, so he missed the entire training camp. Basically, his first 6 weeks of the year were basically his training camp. So his game is his game right now. He is making saves that they don't look great, but then you look at it and you go, wow, that was a heck of a save. So you're getting a lot of those moments out of Andrei Vasilevskiy. And, he made a couple of those stops in the second period last night when they were up 2-1, when it was 3-1, when Toronto could have gotten back in the game, and he just shut the door. And that's what Andrei Vasilevskiy does. So everything that I just said is all true, but at the end of the day, it's the guy in net that makes the biggest difference for this team.
Yeah, the numbers are really stark. I mean, you look at the last 10 games for Vasilevskiy. I was just talking about how good Jake Ottinger's been, but Vasilevskiy 8-1-1 in his last 10 with a .930. So, I want to ask you, Erik, about just that idea that U.S. Thanksgiving. I mean, people kind of always forget about the beginning of the season in the sense that, it's a what have you done for me lately league, and how much missing all that time might have hurt his game in the beginning of this year. And then B, just the confidence level of the rest of the team that you've noticed since he's returned to form. How much does it just change the complexion of the team?
Well, there's no doubt that, getting into his groove is a big part of this team. And it's tough. I mean, Jonas Johansson did a fantastic job. He started 17 of the first 20 games because the idea was when Andrei Vasilevskiy was announced that he was going to have the back surgery, like, oh, the Lightning got to go out and find a veteran goaltender. They got to find somebody to take some of these minutes with their number one guy out. And they didn't. And they had trust in Johansson and, Matt Thompson.
And by the way, everyone blocked the Lightning from grabbing someone on waivers because they knew Tampa was looking. So I think that should be pointed out that no one wanted to hand Tampa a goalie. And the fact that I said before the season started that Johansson, I think, was like 63rd or 64th among the 64 goalies in terms of talent and ability. The fact that they got through the first quarter of the season with him is amazing. Yeah,
because his numbers didn't look great. His play was, though. He had some games where he was spectacular, where he had to face 45, 46, 47 shots some nights. So he really helped this team keep their head above water with Andrei Vasilevskiy out. Now, there have been dips in his game. There was a game in Edmonton. I think he stopped 54 shots. You're like, oh, he's back on track. And then, now he's given up 5-6 night again. And I think going into the All-Star break, he was starting to find his game a little bit. And I think the 10 days off took him out of rhythm. Goalies is all about rhythm and finding puck and getting the feel for the game. You can't replicate a game in practice no matter how hard you try. So he was getting up to all those things, and all of a sudden he hit the brakes for 10 days. And he kind of was back to trying to find his groove again. But he's there now. And with his play, the confidence level for the guys in front of him, it's on a different level. It's just completely different in how this team feels now, where, and I'm kind of exaggerating here a little bit, okay, maybe we can win this game, to now it's, all right, we're going to win this game because we've got the guy in net who's going to do it for us. And it's a good time of the year. Obviously, there was a good stretch of time. You're like, are the Lightning even going to make the playoffs? Are they just going to be finally that team that kind of takes that dip and has a hard time finding their way back? Well, they found their groove, and it's no coincidence that Andrei Vasilevsky's found it right at the same time.
I have a bigger picture Tampa Bay Lightning historic question for you. And last night we saw Nikita Kucherov break his own record for most points in a season by a Lightning player. The organization, the franchise, has 2 retired numbers in its history with LeCavalier and St. Louis. How many guys from this current iteration, this current core, are going to see their numbers go up to the rafters eventually?
Oh, wow. Wow. How many of them are going to be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a group of players on this team that are going to be in the Hall of Fame, and that's going to get their numbers up. So obviously Stamkos is going to be there. Kucherov is going to be there. Hedman's going to be there. Those are locks. Andrei Vasilevsky is almost certainly going to be up there. Now you're going to talk about Braden Point. Is his number going to be up there? I mean, that's 5 players off this current team. And I would argue probably at least 4 of those are probably locks for the Hall of Fame at some point. I mean, that's, we get spoiled here in Tampa because they've had this type of talent for a decade now, and you watch it every night. Eventually that talent is, Father Time wins every time. He's going to win this race as well. So those players will eventually move on, and, they'll have to bring in. I'm confident in saying you might never see this type of accumulated talent, certainly in this franchise, anytime soon. So I hope the fans in here in Tampa understand what they've had a chance to witness over the past decade with Stamkos and Kucherov and Point and Hedman and Vasilevsky and all these guys that are just world-class players. They're at different points of their career as well, but they're all still very productive. And I would argue that all 5 of those guys will one day have their jerseys in the rafter.
Wow. Yeah. 4 future Hall of Famers, and it all adds up to one roster that I don't think either division winner this year wants to run into in round 1 of the playoffs. Erik, as always, really appreciate your time, man. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, my pleasure. Anytime, boys. Be well.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.